So let's just get into the questions, right? All right. So I see Tammy asked a really good one. Shariel asked. All right. So let's in order as they came. So Shariel asked, how do you build the confidence, or what strategies do you recommend? So Shelly, I think this was to you when you're talking about putting together our brand voice and putting ourselves out there.
Yeah. Right. So how do you build the confidence? I think one of I would say the biggest thing right now for somebody who might be struggling with speaking on your strengths and getting clear on your elevator pitch, right? What I tend to see very often when I sit with clients is they can tell me a plethora of your weaknesses, but they can't tell me a plethora of their strengths. And it speaks volumes. And I think what we have to really spend time on now in order to gain confidence, and when we think about confidence really comes from us being secure about our knowledge, being able to speak on something that we know. We become insecure and less confident when we know that, listen, we kind of just trying to pass under the radar here because we don't know it, or we haven't done the research. And for somebody who might be wanting to build on that confidence, I would strongly suggest writing down what your significant achievements have been. And achievements doesn't need to be an award. It doesn't need to be a certification. It can be something that is measurable. It can be something that is impactful. It could be something that you've been doing for years. And we really need to get those strengths in front of our face and start to create an elevator pitch. So a 1-minute pitch, basically saying who you are and what it is you do well. I know, I'm telling you, when you guys first start this, you're going to realize how you fumble so much when it comes to your strengths, particularly if you're not in the business of identity and building your brand. So I would strongly suggest speaking more on your strengths. And another thing as well is ensuring that you are able to back up your claims by evidence. Again, this space is, the online space is a very competitive one. And, this webinar is a great example of, people that sit and speak on these issues and these current trending topics. When you look at their portfolio, it is because they have a track record of either excellence or good work. And it comes down to really being confident in terms of, this is the proof that I have for that. So I would strongly suggest doing that and really practicing it. Practice makes perfect. I remembered, I coach people, and I can tell you, about 2 months ago, I sat in a board meeting with a bunch of directors. And when it was time to introduce myself, there was so much things that I missed. And it's simply because, your elevator pitch continues to evolve. Your elevator pitch 6 months ago is not what it's going to be now. And it's because you're expanding as a brand and as an identity. So it's something that is constantly, it constantly needs practice, and we need to get comfortable talking about our strengths confidently.
Okay.
I'll add 2 things to that, and I'll keep it very quick. One, when you're starting out, one way to help build your confidence is picking a platform that you are comfortable with. Some people, again, just lose confidence because they're like, you know what, I don't like video. And, that would be the roadblock for them even getting started. So there's a variety of ways you can put yourself out there. It does not have to be, a podcast. It doesn't have to be a blog. It doesn't have to be a video. It's really important to understand where you are comfortable and utilizing that platform just to at least start with. The second thing I would say is Shelly touched on a great point that I talk about all the time too, with respect to building your portfolio. However, the one thing that's more powerful than an expert talking to you is a beginner documenting their journey. We love to see people grow and elevate. If you can start to document your journey, right, you will gain a following. People will want to learn with you. However, you aren't going to try to monetize like you are some expert. Yeah. But you can begin to curate events and create opportunities for everybody to learn, and even turn that into a business while you make money, while you are still growing and building that following. So those are the 2 things I'll add to that point.
And that's interesting, just to add to that in this time of growth, you have to leave your ego at the door. If you want to learn, if you want to expand, if you want to get on there, if you want to announce yourself as somebody that has something to offer, you need to leave the ego at the door.
Yeah.
I needed to say that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. All right. Letting everybody know that recording of this webinar will be available later. Just letting everybody know in case they missed some previous topics or so that were covered in the earlier part of the discussion. All right. So Johan Rodriguez is asking, in starting a business, when do you know what content to offer for free and when to start monetizing your content? Keron, you want to take that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Content.
Yeah. So I have a very, my philosophy is this. The what and the how, the what and the why is free. The how is paid. So I will create a lot of content telling people what the problem is, why it's a problem, but then the how to fix it is what I would sell. The solution, the implementation is what I would sell. Now, when you start to go about monetizing it, it depends on what your goal is, right? So I can blog and monetize on my website through traffic coming into my website. And I wouldn't be monetizing the audience. There's a lot of ways to monetize. So I can monetize on traffic coming into the audience, but not sell a solution. What I can also do is I can blog on a website or create this website and sell products. And that's another form of monetization, right? And you could use your content. So for like Droid Island, I don't make smartphones, right? But I create content that educates people on the products, and people in turn go about purchasing from me, right? So there's a wide variety of ways to monetize. It definitely isn't something that I could wrap into just a sentence or two, because there's so many ways to monetize. It really is going to come down to where you are in your business. So if you're starting out, for me, I was monetizing off of traffic coming into my website. And then 2, I was monetizing with selling products. I would never have created the Android Aftercare 101 ebook the first month I came out and introduced myself. I did that 2 years in, when I was already recognized as an expert in the space, where I could then package my knowledge and sell that. But I was using my platform to sell products to help support the mission that I was on with my platform. So there's a wide variety. It will really come down to, what your business is and what your goals are, and then there's you could pick which or how to monetize makes sense for you.
Lovely. Okay, so Avia Bennett asked, in an already competitive market, being from the Caribbean, how do I go about selecting what market or industry I want to start my business in?
Yeah, so that's interesting, and that is actually related to my background with regards to business formation and entrepreneurship. And I would say that, when it comes down to market selection, the best place to start is the place where you have the most connectedness with and the most familiarity with. I've seen entrepreneurs, and we must be mindful that, yes, the online space, right, allows us to be global, right, to an extent, right? But the audience that is going to tap into our resources are the persons that are most connected to us, right? And there's almost a different levels of connections. Same thing as in LinkedIn. You have your first connection, second connection, and that sort of thing. And I think it's really important for us to have a look at where our network sits and where the demand is. Now, this person would have asked, how to go about selecting the market, or, what type of business to start. And it comes down to, whether you're offering a product or a service. And of course, if you're offering a service, what is your expertise in that? And if you're offering a product, what is your ability to produce that product and the operations behind it? Because you don't want to be offering a product that takes an enormous amount of time to get to the target audience who's on the other side of the globe, and you're ending up with a business that just has a demand but is not viable. So I'd strongly suggest that you go with a business with a market that you are familiar with. Yeah.
I would say there are tools, right? So like one of the things that I love doing on some of my workshops is when we look at some of the tools that give out the data on the global market. So like, for example, one tool I'll just touch on here, and then I could always send people to one of the webinars I would have done that goes into depth, is a tool called Google Trends, where Google Trends shows you all of the data happening within the world during a time period, and you could do keyword research. So I could say, you know what, let me type in doubles and select Trinidad over the last 3 months and see what are people interested in doubles in that country over that time period. And that will now, when I get that data, I can now say, wait a minute, people really like doubles in that country. So I can now do a couple of things. Do I want to create an ebook and teach people 10 recipes on how to make doubles? Do I want to create a YouTube channel and grow that YouTube channel on Caribbean cuisine and grow it to a point where I can monetize my YouTube channel? Because we can monetize YouTube right here in Trinidad and the Caribbean. People are getting paid in US by doing that. We could even do affiliate marketing. So I could even do something like I could review all the Caribbean cookbooks and target that country with Google ads, Facebook ads, and do affiliate marketing, selling books to that specific country. And the company who's responsible for, producing the books would be the ones directly shipping out to the people. So there's a wide variety of ways to, get a product to a country, but it definitely will come down to, again, if you can start to utilize some of the SEO tools that will allow you to get data and insights on the specific country, on the specific keyword or key phrase that you are looking for, and then you can start to make business decisions based around that.
Yeah. There's also, one of the things that I find budding entrepreneurs are facing is, how do you go about research? Research is such a buzzword, and how do you even do that? So Keron would have touched on Google Trends. There's also something called market research. Marketresearch.com is excellent, and it's used by business analysts in terms of industries and what is the trends right now in terms of economic return. So I think market research is great, and there's also something called Competitive Caribbean. Competitive Caribbean releases a document every year which talks about what are the top industries that are trending at the moment in the Caribbean. So check it out. They are on LinkedIn as well. So Competitive Caribbean, yeah.
Lovely. So, and I remind people that everybody on the panel, we have office hours. So you could book those discovery calls. So if you want to do a deeper dive into any of the topics that we covered today, any of the questions that you asked, feel free to go ahead and book. All right. So Tammy Cato asks, how can you transition from having an actual office to a virtual business / working remotely as a sole trader who does not have administrative support? Listen, well, let me just touch on that real quick. So the Philippines, Southeast Asia, all these economies where they have a lower cost of living, because the world is equalized right now, right? So you could get relatively inexpensive support and assistance. My podcast editor is from the Philippines, and he edits video as well, right? You could get, if you go to virtualstafffinder.com, there's a library of virtual assistants that you can get from the Philippines. So I'll put that link in the chat. That's virtualstafffinder.com.
Yeah, people per hour as well.
Mm-hmm. So Shelly, I see you about to jump on that question.
Oh no, with regards to transitioning from actual office to
it was always digital.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been digital for a while, and I think the question is, how can you? And I think it's, you just decide to do it, really. I made that decision because of the fact that I had a solid 9 to 5. And I had an income that was sure at the end of the month. But with regards to, making sure that it is effective, for me, I have an executive assistant. She is virtual, but she is not automated. So she's a real life person in Trinidad. And the reason why I've done that is simply because I still want that human touch to our business. We are generally online, but still I wanted one person who is that point of call. So with regards to transitioning, I think it's really important for you to understand that there is a separation in your home and in your work life. And I actually have a webinar, not to plug it in or self-promotion, but I need to say that next week I have a
Plug City.
Plug it.
I have a webinar that is exactly going to talk about how to work from home effectively. But what I can say, it is about being very judicious about how you are using your 9 to 5. We have switches that we can turn the lights on and off, but unfortunately, when we work from home, there isn't a switch that we can touch and turn on, and all of a sudden we're in business mode, right? So you have to be the switch. You have to create triggers that would cognitively make you recognize that, okay, I am working from home. So things like, dressing up, putting on makeup, coming to work, and doing that. But what I would also say is really creating a structure where you have administrative work as well as income generating work, and focusing on how you do that. Now, it obviously depends on the type of job that you have, but I think the biggest thing is making that decision and then managing that decision. And for me, I would say in my first 3 months, that was really what I focused most on, managing that decision, because it is such a shift. And of course, COVID-19 is showing us this. It is such a shift from our usual routines. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Keron.
Yeah, so this question is perfect for me because I actually did it.
Yeah.
So for me,
and you just do it, right? You just.
When I say did it, I mean like the actual process. So yeah. I had a 9 to 5 job, plus I started my blog with Jordan Island, right?
Right.
I left my job and opened up a brick and mortar store. Yeah. So I had a physical location, products on the shelf. You could have come to me in my store. Because I was creating content, and I had a tech show with one of my boys, Devon. I had a tech show. I was creating content. I was not selling online. What happened was, because my content started to pick up and I started to work with Huawei, Be Mobile, started to work with them to create content for their platforms, I started to get paid more from the corporate entities off of my intellectual property than my physical property, than my physical store. The physical store had the overheads. I had rent, light, internet, water. I had to buy the products and stock the shelves for people to come in. The minute I got the taste of my first paycheck from Be Mobile, I was like, hey, I could do this. And I decided right then and there, you know what? I am going to go 100% into that. So at the time, again, capital is again one of the biggest killers for businesses. I had to hire a intellectual lawyer to manage my affairs with Be Mobile and to get that process started. The problem is that lawyer costed 3 times the rent of my store. So there was no way I could have said, let me start the process with Be Mobile and hire the IP lawyer and keep my store. It was literally one or the other. I decided I'm going to close the store and I'm going to start to create content full time. And then what I did was, Jordan Island was still open for business, but it forced me to learn, how do I create an e-commerce business? And I then had to transition my website that was 100% blog and rebuild it for e-commerce. So when I did that, right around the time WePay came out. So I learned how to integrate WePay. I rebuilt my website for e-commerce. I put all of my products online. And then what would happen is, because e-commerce works with credit cards. For the people that did not have a credit card, since credit card penetration rate in Trinidad is so low, and I would still get online bank transfers, I started to use systems like Wave to send out the invoices, to manage all of my invoices. So at that point, transitioning from, and I'm still a solopreneur, I had to learn about, okay, what are all the apps and systems that will help me streamline my process and still be effective. So for invoicing, I learned about Wave. For e-commerce, I learned about WePay so that they could process the payments. If people wanted to pay cash, I learned about Paywise so people could do cash deposits to me. So for me, I had to learn about all of those systems that helped, do my accounting. I had to learn more and more about email marketing to keep in contact with people. And I had to double down on social media marketing to learn how to still keep my message out there, because now people don't have a physical store. Everything was going to be online. And I had to now, if I wanted to get people to pay online, I had to grow my brand and build their trust in order for people to do that. So for me, it was learning about the systems that I could automate a lot of the processes in my business to be able to transition to fully online.
And I just want to say something, and I guess, Keron, if you can add to this, I just want to add, there are a couple of platforms that have really been beneficial to Alpha Student that I just want to raise, because I think that people might be looking for free resources.
Sure.
So some of the platforms that have been excellent for me are Dropbox in terms of file sharing. There is also something called Box, which is really good as well, OneDrive as well, and that is for file and database management. With regards to invoicing, Keron has talked about Wave. There is also Quickbooks, which is excellent as well. And it's something that my business uses. Quickbooks is very intuitive. We've also used booking platforms, and a couple of booking platforms, if you are in the coaching industry: Calendly, Acuity, Setmore, Checkfront. And with regards to emails, MailChimp is something that we love. So just check out these things, because there are a lot of free resources that are available that can help you in this transitioning period. And it really is about just getting online, researching it, and seeing how best it fits with what you're looking for. But those are the ones that has helped for Alpha Student. Is there any for you?
Yeah. So, like for payment processing, right? WePay is free to register. They charge a transaction fee. You can still use PayPal here in the Caribbean. They had some glitches, but check to see if your account is good, because some people still have a bit of issues, but it's still an option for you to use in terms of getting paid online. You have another payment processor called Paywise. You have, as you touched on with respects to file sharing, like I use Google Drive. Google Drive gives you 15 gigs of storage for free, and then you could pay $2 a month for 100 gigs. And then I also use OneDrive as well for file sharing. Wave has been godsend. Wave is free to do all of your invoicing and keep track of all of your expenses as well. So there's definitely some great resources. And even if you're looking at, like a platform to build, social media is free to sign up, right? Even if you're doing your websites don't cost what they did before. You could start a blog on WordPress as low as $2 a month and use a free theme just to start getting your blog out there, right? And then there are cheap themes that you can now install on a platform like WordPress. You could use Wix, Squarespace. They're not as expensive as they once was, and the learning curve is cut down tremendously for you to, again, build your platforms and still get paid online. So it's not this cumbersome, huge expense like it might have been 5, 10 plus years ago. You can get online for very cheap now.
Yeah, and what I love about the tools like Acuity and Wave is that it's so easy to use, right? So you could use it so for example, with Wave, right? So I recently invoiced somebody for evaluation. You could it took me about 2 minutes to go on Wave, put in my logo, put in my branding. It just looks nice and sleek, sexy, if I may say that word, and stand that out. And so as opposed to going in Microsoft Word and you're looking for a template and trying to get the color right and trying to get it right, it is aligned. And an acuity. So instead of saying, okay, what time you free? Thursday, 1 o'clock? No, I have a thing at 1:30. So you just send somebody, here's a link to my calendar. You pick a time so that works for you, and it's seamless. So, and all these tools are online. Again, they're free. Well, Acuity is free for some time only. There's some trial periods and everything, but they're cheap, right? They're not expensive. All right. So I want to get to Trudy John's question, and it's a really good question. It's something, and it's an industry I really want to touch on. Not that I'm a big customer in this industry, shame to say, but so Trudy says, I'm involved in the fitness industry. How can I leverage posting and being consistent without feeling like I'm giving away too much? How can I monetize when so many options are available? How can you give away too much? That's my initial question. How do you give away too much when you're giving out content online? Is there too much?
It depends. So it depends. Giving away your secret sauce is too much. You always want to craft your content around the what and the why. If you use, and again, I will send you a webinar to this because I break this down in full, but there are tools that show you everything people is asking for online with a specific topic. There is no such thing as not enough content that you could put out that will answer people's questions or lead them to your paid solutions. And then with respects to monetizing and when there's so other options available, I'm going to leave this for Shelly and I'm just going to segue for her. But this is where your brand comes in. Yeah. Because you know what the difference is between the Hyatt and Elisa's guest house? They both offer the same thing, a room and a room and a bed, but it's the experience that you get by the Hyatt is why you pay Hyatt money. And when you go to Alicia's guest house, you're paying their price because you know what you're getting. That's so
right now, but listen, we mean no harm.
We know no harm. Yeah. But your brand and Shelly, you take it from there.
Yeah.
Before you talk to somebody else.
Thank you, Trudy, for this question. And I would say that I believe that there is the danger of giving too much away. And, I always say, do not give the cow and the milk, right? And if you feel like you're giving the cow and the milk, then you are definitely giving too much. And how do you know when you give the cow and the milk? If what you've produced, there isn't anything else to add on to that, you have given away everything. And what I usually do when I'm releasing content is I give an introductory. I tend to give an introductory, a very expansive introductory. And so I would have an introduction, which is the thing that holds them in. The middle is really where, we call that like the pitch. And that is where I give a bit more detail. And the end is where I make a call to action, right? And in making a framework like that, people see the expertise in the middle and, they're interested enough to act upon that call of action. So I would suggest, framing your offering in that way so that you can get people to want to know more about you. Now, with regards to monetization, and let me say this, there is options in abundance. There will always be somebody else that people can access. There's
bread aisle. Look at the bread aisle.
That is offering what you do. And, I'm not saying that you should ignore these people because obviously they're in your space and it's good to know what people in your space are doing. But I think much more emphasis should be placed on your value offering, your unique offering. And I can use my own example of, my brand, Shelly-Ann Gajadhar, and why people buy into me is simply because I really focus on excellence. I focus on giving advice that is centered around facts and education, not just telling you something nice, but also giving you it's very raw and real as well. And that brand voice has stuck throughout. And I think, it is much more around us not really trying to become sheep, but really remove ourselves from the sheep-like manner and start owning what it is that we offer. And I hear this all the time. Well, Shelly, somebody is doing the exact same thing that I am doing. No, they are not. They are not doing the same thing you are doing, and they can never do the same thing that you're doing because they don't do it the way that you do it. The magic is in the method. And when you show that there is a method to this madness and there is a blueprint of what you do, there's an imprint of what you do that is lasting and memorable, people will buy into you. Forget about the options.
So I would like to zone into this industry a little bit, because this industry is really it's a personal, right? It's that kind of one-to-one relationship, right? So you could go on YouTube, you could pull on videos of exercise. Okay, this is how you do a proper burpee, this is how you do a proper deadlift, whatever it is, and you could do that, right? But so just like a couple years ago, I had a fitness instructor make the mistake and to tell me, hey Kevin, you don't really need the gym based on your body type. You just need to eat properly. Right. Yeah. And that's reason for my laziness. But I think what people would pay for is the result. Right. Yeah. So when you're in business, no matter what your business model is, your focus is on how can I provide the solution to the client. Yeah. Right. Everything else you're doing is really to get the client to you, right? So if you're putting out workout videos and you're saying, okay, this is how I do this is how you angle it, make sure your chest is up or what have you. And people say, okay, Trudy really knows what she's doing. Well, I like this. I like Trudy's style. I like her personality. Exactly. I like how she shows up. You might message Trudy and say, Trudy, hey, what's going on? I'm trying to lose up 5 pounds in my midsection. What would you recommend for me? This is how I usually eat. This is how I sleep. This is how active I am. This is the kind of job I have. So if you could personalize that and you could solve that problem for me and take me from 250 pounds in 1 month to 220 pounds in some months later, then that's it right there. So it's really about that value you could create for your customer.
Yeah, and I think just to add on Trudy's point, as a fitness instructor, what I tend to see with fitness instructors is they come on and they basically jump into the exercise. And I think something around speaking to the pains. Are you somebody that suffers from eating late at night? Are you struggling with getting on the treadmill? Are you somebody that is in COVID-19 and just not getting time to exercise? This is the video for you. And
video for me.
Yeah, and just getting them engaged with what you're about to offer. And I think, again, that's speaking to the audience, really making that connection with the audience first and foremost is important.
And start looking at various ways to monetize. Don't just try to sell your time, because you could do things like you can create different product tiers.
Yeah.
You can have your free content you put on social media. Your first product tier can be something as simple as an ebook, recipes, exercises that tailor to specific types of people. Yep. Hey, if you're a CEO, here are 5 exercises you could do while at your desk, and that's a 99-cent download, and you sell on volume, right? Then you could do things like your private online workout classes, and your final product here can be your one-on-one personal training time. So start looking at creating product tiers that way people can buy into you at some way along the funnel, and not just we watch you on social media and we go right to personal training. That is your highest product offering. Start creating that tier system for people to be able to work with you.
Okay, so I see that Kalani Rivers is asking for advice on using social media to offer group travel packages to the Caribbean. Now, Kalani. So Kalani, well, I mean, based on advice on using social media to offer group packages, I'm going to go ahead and I recommend that you book a discovery call with Keron, and he'll break that out for you. Travel packages to the Caribbean, I feel you'll have a lot of challenges with that right now. So, oh man, sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that, group travel package. I want a travel package. No, I'll take that. All right. So Keron Aline, he asks, due to the pandemic, I had to postpone the majority of projects started for 2020. I am now in the process of reinventing the business, and while there were digital tools integrated into the business to some extent, I now have to go back to the drawing board. Okay. Oh gosh, Keron, how do I manage the portfolio of digital initiatives that I am researching without suffering from analysis paralysis? Outside of digital and analytics, are there other ways to check the test and learn approach for what works best using digital tools? Ooh, that's a serious question.
There is no
other way.
From Keron to Keron, there is no substitute for testing. I will tell you this, and Kevin will laugh about this, but every single webinar I've done in the last 2 weeks was always planned the day of because I was testing. I would literally learn a feature in my software and be like, oh, shoot, this is amazing. I need to test this out. And then grab a topic that I might have spoken on from before and turn it into a full live webinar. But that would allow me to test out the software so I can start to build out better and better webinars, right? There is no substitute for testing. Analysis is always going to be there, but at some point, you just have to jump in there, make the mistakes so that you can learn, oh, shoot, I bumped my head. The very first paid webinar I did, I wanted to bawl because how I set it up, I set it up thinking I would be able to create this paywall and do it. But what ended up happening was when I did the webinar, everything went fine in terms of, people being able to buy their ticket into the webinar, but I didn't foresee an issue where how I did it and set it up, the chat for the webinar was blocked and people couldn't talk to me via the chat. I would have never have known such a minor thing like that would have happened until I actually did it. So there's nothing that's going to replace testing. You just have to test, make your mistakes, try to minimize the exposure of those mistakes and learn from it. And the quicker you could learn from it is the quicker you could jump back on and move forward.
I've been thinking on no, that's an excellent response, right? But I've been thinking on Kalani's question on I hope I'm pronouncing your name right about using social media to offer group travel packages to the Caribbean. And I mean, it would be great, if we could, I guess it's very optimistic. It's like, oh yes, a time when we could travel again. So let's just when we look past COVID and we get past this, So I mean, I don't know. So Shelly, what do you think? You have any advice using social media? I know you love social media. You got the engagement and everything to offer group travel packages to the Caribbean.
I think that's interesting. And what I would say is for right now, I would say that your best bet is to try to create, and not even try, but endeavor to build up a client database, right? So that means getting a landing page up where you can get the information of people at the moment. So the closest thing to sales right now is an email address from a potential customer. So I would strongly suggest that you try to build up that database, and you can use a few platforms to do that. So for instance, Wix is an excellent space for creating a landing page. There's also something called Jotform, which is a free a platform builder where you can let people sign up a form in terms of their interest, and you are able to get that database going. OneDrive and Google Docs is also something that you can use. And of course, using your link in social media, that link for that form in your social media bio to be able to drive people to that link. I would also say as well that, in this free time as well, what you want to do is to start testing out people's appetite for this. And, social media, especially Instagram, because Instagram is really where I reside. And I would say that there are great engagement tools on Instagram that people are not using enough of. So from the polls to the questions to the slider emotions in terms of, whether people are interested in something or not, I think that should be heavily used to find out if this is something that is in demand. Now, you might be wondering, content, how do I create content, and what is a great platform for creating content, especially if I'm not in marketing? How do I introduce this as a very attractive initiative that I'm trying to build an audience for? And I'd strongly suggest Canva. Right? So Canva is a free platform where you can get templates, marketing templates. You put on group travel packages to the Caribbean, subscribe to our mailing list, and you put that in your stories, tell people to click the link in the bio, and you generate that client database. And I think that is what can happen right now, really building up that audience in the COVID-19 time. And then once you have an audience that is attractive enough and you think you can start to monetize, moving, of course, from building up that engagement to actually converting it to sales.
Yeah.
So I'll give my little 2 cents on that.
All right, you fix it.
So for one, I think you should really start to research what are the countries that are going to be offering some of the best deals when they're looking to open up. Like right before this webinar, I see that Sicily's government, or the people running Sicily, said that they're willing to pay half of your ticket airfare if you were going to come out to Sicily. So if they're thinking that, chances are there's probably a bunch of deals to be had. So I would start to research that. And then with respects to you wanting to do group packaging, I would focus on curating travel packages for groups and start breaking down what are the various types of groups. What type of groups like to go on trips? So that could be family trips, it could be bachelor trips, girls trips, guys trips, trips with kids. Any sort of group that you could think of, start to jot that down and start to curate what kind of experience would those particular groups have in specific countries, and reverse engineer from that.
Yeah, because really and truly, so a lot of the industries that will be severely affected by COVID, right? So I think for those companies, the goal really should be relationship management, relationship building, right? And like what Shelly says, engaging with the people there. See, what destinations do you want to go to? What sort of experiences are you looking for? And I saw this really cool thing on Facebook yesterday where you got to take like a 360 virtual look at Maracas Beach. So see how much you could offer that. Like, yeah, so you click your mouse and you go around and you get to look at the water, you look at the sand. Yeah. I think you saw the bacon shark stand and everything. So again, it's really about about being creative and resilient and determining, all right, how can I solve the problem that people have, right? So you could feed into people's need for discovery and everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I like that. Okay, who we have next? Oh, is that it?
I think,
is that it? Let me just check. The.
And I believe Melinda asked, "Is it Competitive Caribbean?" And yes, right. Melinda, it is Competitive Caribbean that I spoke of.
Oh yeah, so that is it. All right, and you just.
Kevin, 1 second. I think we have one more. Sorry, this is Zara.
Hi, Zara.
Hi. I'm just seeing one left in the chat here, and it's asking about, once you started connecting and engaging locally, do you have any tips for how to extend that to a global reach?
Oh, nice. Who wants to touch that?
What was the question again?
Once you've connected and engaged locally, what tips do you all have to extend globally? I would answer that because with regards to Alpha Suit, that is exactly what happened. When I launched Alpha Suit, I came back to Trinidad and Tobago and I launched Alpha Suit in Trinidad, and I did a lot of PR because my intention is to serve the Caribbean. That is what Alpha Suit was built for. But now, the majority of my audience is actually from the US and now the Caribbean. So the US has taken a step up. But with regards to extending the audience globally, how is it that I did that? And it really came down to my networks. Especially if it is, and there is something around using your identity as utility, something that can be bartered, something that can be exchanged. And I use LinkedIn to really create those commercial connections with people and getting people to buy into my brand. Now, one of the easiest ways to do it, especially on social media, is through collaborations. And when I first started Alpha Suit, that was something that I really did a lot with. So I invited people to come onto my platform and to share their expertise. And simply because they have an audience that I would like to tap into, they have the large audience which I was trying to create, and it was about tapping into their expertise and into their market, and really understanding, what does your business lack? And how can you create a collaboration that is mutually beneficial with somebody that is outside of your market? And you can do that regionally as well. Another way that I was able to build Alpha Suit and extend it globally as well is making the brand itself take up space on the online world for businesses that were based out in the UK or out in the US. So for instance, I would have been a contributor for a career blog that is based in the US. And it's really about digital footprint. And I'm sure Keron would have a bit more to say about that, but really ensuring that, you know, you are somebody that is searchable, and you are somebody that is able to show that this is the expertise that I offer, these are the networks that I have, and this is how I can be of mutual benefit to you. In this time, relationships are pivotal. It's one of the reasons why I'm on here right now. It's simply because of my relationship, professional relationship with Kevin, and also simply because you know, when you announce what it is you do, people take heed, and there's an extensive amount of networking that needs to happen if you want to tap into the global market.
Yeah, for sure.
So what I would say is keep in mind that when you put yourself out there, whether it's social media, your website, the world has access to it. So one of the things that I routinely do on my social media is I show people where in the world people viewed my blogs, where in the world people view my website. So that for me, the second largest country that reads all of my content is the US. The third is South Africa. And I get people from South Africa that reach out to me. And the key for your content should be local focus, global reach, and creating contextual content for your region. Because what happens is the people that do reach out to me from other countries aren't looking for me to say the exact same things as the people in their market. They want me to showcase what is happening in the Caribbean region or in Trinidad, so they could say, oh, okay, this worked in Trinidad. Maybe we could take this strategy and implement it into our market. A lot of the times when we have people here in Trinidad that create content, they're creating this generic content that any and everybody could use, but it doesn't show the depth of your knowledge with respect to what is happening into your market. So again, when you create content that's specific to your region, there are people that are going to be visiting your website or visiting your social media because they do want to see what it is that or what's happening in that part of the world, so that they can get some insights on, whether because they're trying to enter the market or they want to take those tips and bring it back to their market.
Okay, guys. So we are at 2:41. So that's an hour and 41 minutes we've been going. So I think it's a great time for us to wrap.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you guys open mic, open forum, open platform. You know how it goes. So to say anything that you want to get out to the audience that you didn't get to say. Shelly, go ahead.
Say that again, Kevin.
Yes, I'm giving you guys open mic, open forum, open platform to say anything to the audience that you want to make sure and drive home that you may not have covered today.
Right. I think, you know, I want to say that we are in a really exciting time. It's a trying time, but it's an exciting time for business. And it's an exciting time for us as individuals as well. It's an opportunity for us to really step into our greatness and to really get clear on living on our terms, right? And we're seeing that based on us being in COVID-19. You know, yes, we are employed still, but one of the things that I want, you know, the viewers to remember is that we are in a place of power. In order for us to be optimum working from home, we have to tell our employers what is needed for us to be optimum. And that is because we're juggling home, we're juggling kids, we're juggling trying to create a space and an environment that we can thrive in, and employers want to ensure that they keep that money going. So employees and individuals are in a place of power at the moment, and it's a really great space to be in, and it comes down to, you know, how do we use that and how do we communicate that and leverage upon that. So I would say that this is the time to take those risks. These are the times to take those challenges. That project that you wanted to start, get on it. A great example is that today I shared on my platform Harvard offering 69 free online courses. Right? Never before has Harvard done that. And we're seeing so much information being made available to us, and industries recognizing that we need to upskill, and this is the time to do so. So, for those that have talked about not being confident, not being sure about the direction, please continue to be curious in this time. Please continue to tap into these free webinars. Continue to tap into the experts. Follow the experts and see what it is they're doing. Ask those questions, troubleshoot in this time so that we can really reap the dividends in the end. And of course, I must plug in AlphaStute. That is a resource and a platform that you can activate for those of you who are career transitioning. I have successfully career transitioned from law to business, and I also help persons with regards to their purpose and getting online. So please, please, please tap into our free resources. We are here to help, and you are not alone. That's what I want to say.
Love it. Keron, you're up.
Man, start where you are.
Yeah.
Take stock of the skills you currently have. Take stock of your interests and passions, because it doesn't matter whether you went to the fanciest school. It doesn't matter whether you dropped out of school or never completed school. Anybody can turn anything that they are passionate about into a business. I dropped out of college because I had a mandatory course in my computer networking and system technology that required me to do web design. And I could not, for the life of me, code in Dreamweaver to build this damn thing. And I was beyond frustrated 10 plus years ago. Now I build websites for myself and I coach people on how to build their own and build their other digital assets. And I learned all of this out of sheer passion to grow Droid Island. And that was the business I was very passionate about. Learning smartphones, how they worked and how people could use them, whether it be for personal or for business. I just always had a passion about that technology. And I was able to turn my passion for technology into a business. So whether you are going through the route of you're in school, you went to school, you got a degree, maybe the employment field is saturated, you can turn that same degree into a business of your own. But if it is that you did not go to school, or maybe you went and you're doing something else, you can build a business on your passion. Start where you are. You don't need the fanciest equipment. You can use your cell phone to start putting yourself out there. Just start, I don't know if anybody watched Magic School Bus. Kevin, Shelly, you guys ever watched Magic School Bus back in the day?
I have indeed, yes.
You know where I'm going to go with this. You know where I'm going to go with this.
Yep, I know exactly.
Miss Frizzle had the greatest saying to date, where she said, "Get messy, make mistakes." Listen, don't be afraid to get messy and make your mistakes, because at the end of the day, we all bounce our head. I know Shelly has bounced her head. Kevin has bounced his head. I have bounced my head. But we learn, put yourself back out there, and you keep on moving.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So, it's been some weeks now that the Become Investible team has been thinking about this, because we saw the plethora of webinars and lives and everything that was happening. and you're having our team discussion. You're saying, hey, it is our duty as a company, especially in this space, in this small and medium-sized entrepreneur space and ecosystem, to reach out to people during this time and give people some sort of guidance, right? But we didn't want to do it in a cheap manner. We didn't want to do it for the sake of just getting attention, right? Anytime we step out, we want to make sure that what we're doing, adds a lot of value. And, Shelly, Keron, we've had countless conversations on this. We've had a number of prep meetings on this just to make sure that it comes out right. So it's really overwhelming, and I'm really happy to see that the webinar was fully subscribed. We got a lot of registrations and everything. I think we may need to get a higher Zoom package so we can accommodate more people next time.
Yeah.
But again, we thank everybody for coming to this first Become Investible roundtable discussion. If you want to follow Become Investible on social media. We are, again, Become Investible, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're very light on Instagram, but we'll build it up, maybe with Shelly's guidance.
Indeed.
Right, and of course you can check out becomeinvestable.com for our existing content and our videos and whatnot. And I mean, with that, we're gonna have our next session in 2 weeks from now, so that's May 12th. So you'll keep posted to our channels for information on that. But until then, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Sorry it took twice as long as we originally planned. Shelly, I know it's almost nighttime.
Yes, it is nighttime, Kevin.
Shelly, where can we find you? Tell everybody where they can find you, Shelly.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. So my handle is SA_Gajadhar. You can also find me on Alpha Suit. And of course, I believe that Zara would have put that in the chat. But yes, you can find me on Alpha Suit. And that is basically, and Zara was kind enough to repost it. But yes, you can find me on website as well as social media.
And if you want to find me, Keron Rose, just go into Google, type in Keron Rose. And everything is there.
Mr. Search Engine Optimization. But just be mindful that when you go on Keron Rose's website, he's watching everything you do. He's watching every single thing. All right, guys. That's good. Get ready to wrap it up. Hey, thanks again, everybody, for participating. Get back into what you're doing today. I'm not gonna go with the same, okay, stay sanitized, wash your hands and everything. You know that already. Just have a great time and just keep thinking about, okay, how can I solve somebody's problem? And when you make the problem bigger than you will find the confidence, you'll find the resilience, you'll find the creativity to deliver what it is that you need to deliver.
Indeed.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye.